Welcome to the Starting Over podcast. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos. And this is the show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of Heroclix. You might notice the slight echo in today's podcast. If you can at all, I'll find out in post production. Pretty much, I am in my office in Topeka where I work because I have almost capped out my data usage for the month on my phone. Gotta love AT&T. Gave me 6 gigs. So I know like Verizon has unlimited, but I got unlimited text and calling and a 6 gig data plan and a free phone for 135 a month for 2 lines. So yeah, that's pretty good. I'm not gonna dump on that. So anyway, you might be wondering, like, okay, Dark Logos. So you're here inside the office. Are you going to tell us, what floor of the building you're at? Fourth floor. Where's the big building? Trust me, it's one of the biggest buildings that you can guess. Other than that, I'm not going to go into more more detail. So let's just say I have a almost a 20 foot, I'd probably could say 25 foot high ceiling in the office right now. So anyway, today we are going to talk about something interesting. Um, and if you read the blog, this is a slight continuation of the blog. This is a bit of extra like whipped cream topping on top of some of the blog posts. So if you're lost, hit pause, go to startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com and read a couple of posts from around this time frame, and you might get what I'm talking about here. But I'm not going to leave everyone, in the complete dark. So if you want to do that, please do. Really appreciate it. All right. So what we're going to sort of go into in a bit of detail is how having fun can turn into a bad thing. And you're like, what the heck? This doesn't make sense. Literally, bear with me. How having fun, how trying to have fun can turn into a bad thing. This is going to be a bit more of an expansive topic. And this really is going to revolve around when we play our favorite figures and the bad stuff that happens. If that makes sense. When we play our favorite figures and the bad stuff that happens. So there's a lot of trouble that can pop up. And I think a lot of people don't understand the landmines that are there. Just by being blunt, just playing whatever, just playing whatever you want to play, just willy nilly. Okay. So we're going to talk about several elements today so that when you go out to have fun, that you are not, in the best way to put it, just lost. Or better rephrasing, you don't feel that you are in a situation where you're completely demoralized. Okay. All right. So let's get to it. All right. I will retell the magical tale for everyone's leisure and convenience. The other weekend, I played a game in which, yes, I played Tester with feats, uh, stunning blow, protected, auto regen, armor piercing. Yeah, I know. Yeah, whatever you're thinking right now about me in that conversation, trust me, I've already read your mind. And there's only two conversations that are going on. maybe three. But yeah, I already know what you're thinking. So we were playing for Batman Azure and R, and in all honesty, I don't think it's a good Batman. It's only going to be good for No Man's Land last month, and even then, I think he's going to have some problems. But super strength Batman is awesome. It's just that 156 points. So pretty much, I saw a young man, and he's been playing for a little bit. I've given him some prizes I've won in the past, and I'm not trying to get a oh, Dark Logos is a dapper young man type thing. I'm just filling in the story. And so he said, I really want to win that Batman Azure and R. I really want that figure. And I'm like, okay. And I was about to follow up and say, for what? What were you going to use that Batman for? And that's something that you need to really ask yourself on all prize support is, what am I really going to use this for? Okay. Anyway, as the first round goes on, I beat my first round opponent, which I thought it was a close game, an interesting game by far, but a close game. And I would hate to say it like this, he got beat down, and then before the game was over, he forfeited. Which, for anyone that plays tournaments, knows that can be horrible for realistic gauging of pairings in the long run. Like, you can give someone just ridiculous amounts of points. Uh, just oh gosh, it's frustrating. It's frustrating because now you have a 0 point loss and a person who's got a max win most times. Anyway, so as things progress, he comes back and he's hyper disappointed, and he's like, I just got stomped, man. And I was like, well, where's your team? You know, and he said it's just a bunch of figures that I like over there. So I was like, okay, when people are in that, point where they can't be comforted, you just sort of, let things roll. So I finished my first game, go into my second game. He's playing his second game. 15 minutes into his second game, he's already forfeited his second game. And he comes, sits by me, and he starts complaining and saying, these events aren't just fun anymore, and a bunch of other stuff. And I'm like, well, okay. And I'm in the middle of my game. And so I'm sort of listening to him complain. And I'm trying to be the, hey, I'm an adult and I'm listening to you and I care, and also trying to stomp the fire out of the person I'm playing. Now, and again, you all might say, like, you have Tester, you automatically win. It's not that simple. I have Tester. It's a 1,500 point game. I had Tester, Brainiac, the new DC 10th Brainiac with Nova Blast, Alan Scott, Green Lantern from DC 10th, and some other figures that I'm not going to list because you'll purely hate me. But I will note I had Double Cipher. Yes, sir, I did. I did just say that. Double Cipher. Tester with 3 team abilities. How about that? Anyway, going on. Which, and on a side note, because I already knew it was crazy, I didn't abuse it too much. But there was one game I did copy Mystics. So yeah. Anyway, going on into the story is get to the final round, and I played this guy who listened to the show, and He's a good guy. He builds 3D model, 3D model maps. And I don't know if it's his wife or his sister that comes along, or if it's his sons or nephews or something. It's pretty much just a family affair. And they come and bring their big huge stuff and they play. And those folks are great. Bring your 3D maps and your concoctions and other things. And I like to play on them. If I had time. I'm not that self into, well, I wouldn't say self-absorbed. I'm not that desensitized to what could be fun with that. Okay, so anyway, I play him in the final round, and he had a very, very ruthless deity team. It was deity or cosmic. He had that cosmic king, or is it cosmic king? It's a chaos king. He had two Chaos Kings with Nova Blast and two TKers. Yeah, it was Cosmic because he had Cosmo and Dark Phoenix and something else. Well, anyway, he had Theme Team. Of course, he won. And he chose for me to go first. Well, I was like, okay, well. And I said, are you sure you want me to go first? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So I move around my ciphers, and that's it. Ciphers and one other figure. So then I forgot testing. Should have did testing. So he TKs down, tries TKs down Cosmic Chaos King. And I said, dude, I have first round immunity. You can't do anything. He's like, oh, I thought once your turn was over, that was it. I can light you up. And I was like, no, man, you can't do that. So he's like, so that means when it's my turn that you can shoot me. And I'm like, yeah. It's like, oh, I didn't know that. I'm like, yeah. So pretty much this entire game comes down to me perplexing up Brainiac's movement and his range. Well, his range by 2, his movement by 1. No, range by 1, movement by 2. And what else? Yeah, so, and me getting my prob, which I'm not going to say what it was, because then you really hate me. Slingshotting him out there, and he running shots, pulse waves, hits his entire team for 5, and that's all she wrote. Now, no, his figures were still alive, but they were damaged pretty bad. Now, most people would quit, and at that point, I'll be honest, most people would just be like, "I'm done. I tried. I can't beat these super high, powerful, experienced players with their broke figures." But you know what the dude did? He stuck out the game, and we played a very one-sided match. Not gonna front. I'm not going to even lie like I struggled and no. He killed Brainiac, and that was about it. Oh, and then a cipher, a Brainiac and a cipher, which I hate to say was the best anyone did all day. Yeah, I know. Okay, so what ended up happening is I'm stuck there with the prize in my hand. I'm talking to this other guy, and I'm like, man, I wanted when I initially went out for the prize, I really wanted the prize, and now I've won the prize, and I'm like, do I really need it? And then I was stuck with a conundrum. Who do I, once I resigned, I don't need the prize. I was like, okay, who do I give this to? And I said to myself, I was like, okay, there's the young man who really wanted it, but he quit. He quit the entire time. He only got a win because he got a bye in the last round. Okay. And do you reward that? Because in the times in the past where I've sort of saw his drive and his attempt to work at Heroclix, and he failed to win a tournament, but he was working on it with what he had. I I felt good about saying, hey, getting together, get him something, or purchase something from the top of the store. Like, here, dude, this is gonna help you. Okay. Then there's the other guy where he's trying to learn, and this literally is his first final round, and it's against me. And I didn't really tell the other part of the story in that final round. It's pretty much his sons or nephew. I don't know which one it is. Pretty much we're like, there's Dark Logos. He's the guy that was playing with Glass Cabinet Films. You have no chance of winning. And they said that a couple of times, and I shushed them down. I'm like, be quiet. But he had his own family sort of turn on him. But even though he didn't win, he persevered. And so I had to, at the end, honor character that I like to see reflected. And so I gave it to the guy that I played in the final round. Now, a lot of people would have said, I would have given it to the kid because he doesn't have money and what else. I'm like, okay. I'm not trying to make moral value judgments with this by saying one is more superior than the other. Okay. Giving is giving as long as it's coming from a humble and contrite position, that you're not doing it to manipulate others or get up on others. Uh, but what this interaction showed me was something very particular. Uh, the young man played random pieces that he liked. He liked the character or the power that they did. He had no care about team strategy, ideas, where he was going. He had no clue. Okay? He had no clue of what he was doing with this team. Even though multiple times I sat down and broke down team mechanics to him. And when I showed him my team, I said, my team won. And again, I'm not listing off all the team because, of course, I don't want y'all to think that I'm pure evil. But he's like, your team doesn't make sense. I would never see those guys playing together in a comic. And I'm like, you are correct. But I have 3 perplexes, 2 probs, 2 outwits, 2 TKs, 2 support figures. I also have barrier in enhancement. I have everything I need to light people up in a 1,500 point game and do it fast. And just to let everyone know for that tournament, there was only one game I didn't wipe. And that was my first round game. Nope, take that back. Nope, I wiped him too. Nope, I wiped all 3 games. Which is one thing you have to consider for big point games is, can you wipe? Because a lot of games go to time, and that's bad. Anyway, so I tried to show him multiple times. I told him to listen to the show, and I'm not trying to be an egomaniac like, yeah, my show is awesome, and it tells you how to be the awesomes at Heroclix. Okay. Yeah, I do try to make y'all awesome at Heroclix, but it's not a guarantee. Everyone still has to work and practice. But he didn't go in to the game with a proper thinking. He went in trying to do, now some people are going to say blasphemy at what I'm about to say in my implications. He came in trying to play Heroclix as a superhero simulator on the board. And the idea of how he perceives, note, this is an element outside of the game mechanic, how he perceives those figures to operate in the comics, that they would operate on the board the same way. Okay? So the one thing about literature you have to understand is all literature in one form or another has a Deus Ex Machina part in it. And Deus Ex Machina is sometimes subtle, sometimes very blatantly obvious, but it's really the biggest Deus Ex Machina that we never really talk about in literature, for definitely comic books, is the cultural presupposition that the protagonist, whoever it may be, and I don't want to say good guys this time because there's protagonists that are villains in books. The protagonist always achieves their objective, whether it's in that issue or eventually. They always achieve their objective. Even when heroes lose the super widget, somebody told me it's called the MacGuffin or something. Pretty much, even when they lose it, the bad guy has it. They come back and get the MacGuffin or a super widget or whatever you want to call it. So even if it's 30 issues later, they still get it. So it was inevitable that they were going to have it. Okay. Now the guy that I played in the final round, he had figures that he liked, but he had a play mechanic that he wanted to do. Okay. So he came from a completely different perspective than the young man. He said, I have a 200 point, I want to play 200 point Dark Phoenix. Is that efficient? I don't think so, but okay. And he played Cosmo. Is that the cheapest TK you can get? No, but it worked for his theme team. He said he wanted this type of map, and for all intents and purposes, he was going to wipe everyone's team into Nova Blast. Literally. He would look at Cosmic King's starting stats. It's like a 10 attack, 6 damage, like 11 range, 12 movement. Yeah, he's going to get downfield and light your team up like a Christmas tree. And you're talking 12 clicks. So your team is, if he knows he's hit your whole team twice, there's no way you can lie and pretend that you're not dead unless you have a Colossal. All standard figures are off the board. Okay, so he had a mechanic that he was like, I love my figures and I love a couple other things, but guess what? I'm going to kill you. And I'm determined to win. But I like my Cosmo and I like my Dark Phoenix and I like a couple other figures on my team. Okay, so we see one guy who says, I'm only going to do figures I like. And the other guy says, I have some figures I like, but I'm going to have this team go. Okay. So thank you for standing with me through my 25-minute intro into what we really need to get into. I apologize it's taken so long. Yes, it's storytelling time with Dark Logos. So anyway, let's look at the tale of two people and the lessons that we can learn. First lesson we're going to extrapolate on. Pick your figures that you like, but pick them to win. There are people that I have known that will play exact lineups of certain teams, and they will specifically go out and get the actual historic version of that figure doing that pose, knowing it's from that era of comic books, and compose a team of whatever comic. That's not, there's nothing wrong with that. That is completely fine. But then they come in, lose, and then they're like, paper, rock, scissors, man, paper, rock, scissors. Oh my gosh, I can't win. The game is so messed up and bull. Okay. Well, what did they do? Where they messed up? Their first flaw was they were too specific. You can't be too specific with your lineups. If you want to say Justice League, yeah, Avengers, yeah, X-Men, yeah, you can do all that. And you will also find a theme team that Justice League, Avengers, X-Men, JSA, there's probably a whole bunch of others, Teen Titans too. They have huge lineups. If you have a standard team symbol, unless your name is Morlocks, you have a good amount of figures and Guardians of the Globe. So unless you're Morlocks, Guardians of the Globe, and Serpent Society, you have a good amount of figures. You might not have a ton, but you have a good amount of figures. You have options, okay? The main reason people will try to hide behind Avengers and Justice League is because they have options. But for those people that are hyper comic book accurate, that's a failure. Because then you do not play Out of the Shadows Batman like you should. You play, Batman from Icons, which was sort of okay, but really isn't that good. Because that's the era in which you're building your Justice League team. Who cares? Okay. Now, if you're at home and you really want to reenact, issue 52 of Doom Patrol, okay, I understand. But that's at home. And you can do all your Deus Ex Machina stuff in which, no, Robot Man would not have missed that attack. Comic accuracy reroll. That's the Deus Ex Machina. Where you get to feel like you're in control of the story. Okay. But if you are wanting that feeling, you can sort of have a interesting time with Heroclix, but competitive play is going to be a problem. And I would, and this is not a troll. This is not a troll. I say this out of respect. Go look on HC Realms for a cat named Ultra Dragon. It's like ULTDRGN, something like that. Just ask somebody for Ultra Dragon. He's been around since the dawn of HeroClix, okay? Maybe even in the pre-dawn, he was talking with the demiurge gods of creation of the game. And he was saying, let there be some modification on Impervious so it can reduce 3 damage. But anyway, when it comes to Ultra Dragon has a whole bunch of wacky, crazy stuff that I feel is wacky and crazy, and sometimes I'm like, that's pure awesome. Rules, mods for HeroClix, and if you want to go play that at home, you will have the most comic accurate fun time ever. Your meta changes, but comic accurate fun time. But when you come back to the actual competitive scene, the guy on the other end of the board might for a brief moment appreciate the art that you've presented in your team construct. But if you don't have value in the art of that itself, don't expect the other guy to sort of bow down to your nerdness, which is sort of what it is asking others to just, be at awe at your comic book knowledge. So anyway, that, a tournament is not the time to bring the exact copy of a team into a meta competitive environment. Okay. Even the ones that says bring a comic book. I'm sorry. You can go and find those old comics where DC fought Marvel and just say in this episode, Wolverine and Lobo fight and Wolverine wins. which actually did happen. Or in this fight, Superman and Hulk fight, and they actually win. I mean, Superman actually wins because Hulk couldn't get mad enough, which actually happened. And then you go on even further and say, I have it in trade paperback, so this is all one comic, so I can field anyone from the Marvel or DC universe. Yeah, there's so much shenanigans that you can do with that. Avengers versus X. I'm not Avengers versus X-Men. That's new. Yeah, well, you can do that, or even Justice League versus Avengers. The 15 times they fought each other. Okay, so you yes, there's shenanigans there too. There's somebody that can min max you, even from the comic book standpoint. So don't look at that as a cop out. So like, oh, we didn't have a real comic book accurate game. No, you can't. There's always a guy like me who has a bazillion books and can pull something out with his Clicks collection. It's just like here. I played freaking Chaos War. I mean, not Chaos War. I played Infinity Gauntlet. And here's my actual. I do actually have a copy of the original Infinity Gauntlet story. And I also have originals from Crisis on Infinite Earths too. So I could play Anti-Monitor. Ooh. So anyway, going on. The next thing that we can see is that if you build your team and you say, gosh darn it, I really want to play such and such a figure, then build your team for that figure to succeed. If you love Spider-Man and you want to see a team in which Spider-Man is your MVP, build a team for Spider-Man. If Spider-Man needs Pounce, put Pounce on Spider-Man. Pack-O-Matic with Spider-Man. If you want to do Spider-Man family, that's a different subject. But if your goal is to make Spider-Man awesome because he is your favorite character ever, pick a good Spider-Man. And then go and then look at various Spider-Mans and say, this Spider-Man does that. This Spider-Man's this many points. I can put this feat on this Spider-Man. I can use the utility belt real well on this Spider-Man. Oh, Gauntlet Spider-Man. Throw it around, juggle it. Look and say, I like this character. Here are his incarnations and clicks. And definitely with Spider-Man, you have more than enough. These are the ones that I have. Out of the ones that I have, I'm going to play this one. I'm going to build a team that's going to focus around making this Spider-Man awesome. Good game design right there. Good team building design right there. Because from that standpoint, you said, I value this, so I'm going to back it up. Now, it gets harder when you say, I'm going to play Spider-Man and Black Cat. And they're on a date. And it's just those two. And it's a 500-point game. I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to do that unless you have Mary Jane trying to interrupt the date and she got cloned hundreds of times, and Aunt May is there and spider clones are trying to interrupt the date. Like literally, you have to add absurdity if the point value is too small. If you say I just want to play these two figures, that's really it gets bad when you do that. But if you say, I want to play these two figures and I wanted to make a team theme around this, then go for that. You will be happy that you did. Okay? So that's some good design philosophies right there. Next up, you can say, hey, I really love this general concept of a team. Let me go and put some of my favorite characters on it and see if I can do this general concept. Oh, okay, I can or cannot do it. This is what needs to stay. This is what needs to go. And when you finish that general concept and you have your alpha version of your team, really look at it and say, okay, here are my strengths, my weaknesses. This is what I feel is valuable or unvaluable, or you can go even say like, I don't like the fact that Super Duper Man only has a 10 attack on this version. I don't have enough points for the version I do like. I have to decide if I'm going to get rid of Super Duper Man altogether and put in something else, or take out 2 or 3 figures so I can put in the version of Super Duper Man that I want. But you have that concept of saying, okay, for my concept, I need Super Duper Man to have a 12 attack and 5 damage. Okay, and then I'm going to get him up there. He can kill one guy, have an effect where he can kill another, and then teleport anywhere on the map. That's Super Duper Man. Okay, great. So how do I maximize that? Okay, well, I also want to have some form of perplex and some objects out there. And I think, maybe the utility belt would be awesome. But you know what? Super Duper Man is always with Crazy Kid. So Crazy Kid does this other effect, which says once per turn, I can make any character on the board have 0 range. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll figure out who the most dangerous person is, and Crazy Kid will make their range 0. And when Super Duper Man pops on another part of the board, then I can have him near the guy that I would make range 0, and he can kill him next turn. Bam, synergy. You have pieces working together. There's pieces that you like, and you're coming up with an overall strategy. Okay, so those are key things that you have to keep in mind. I will give you my best example. During February, I make a Black History Month team. I just do. The question is where I play it and when. Sometimes it's at home, sometimes it's in a venue. But I do play a Black History Month team. And I don't want to really get into some of my more classic debates about Black Adam. I'll just leave that alone right now. But every year I play this. Everyone knows every year I play it. And so at no point in time do I say Black Panther, Storm, and let's see who else was Falcon, and I'll just Green Lantern, and it's not Hal Green Lantern. It's John Stewart. If you didn't know already, better recognize. Anyway, John Stewart, Green Lantern, and some other figures depending on how I feel or what I want to do. But 9 times out of 10, after Avengers, classic Avengers, I've put Black Panther from Avengers set on my team. He's just that good. He actually is I would say, yes, minor derail. Support Black Panther. Yes, you can go back and get classic rookie Black Panther. He sucks. Black Panther fights for Wakanda, son. He beat up Captain America in the comic I read. There you go, comic logic. Anyway, so the one from Avengers has multiple options, and once you put Pounce on him, he lights people up. Plus, he can brilliant tactician. So it was funny, like when I did classic Avengers teams, like Black Panther was the man. He was like, through my superior technology, I make you better, even you, Tony Stark. So anyway, so I have an overall list of figures, and I'm like, I love these figures. I'm waiting for an icon, because the moment I get an icon, I am going to kill people every February. Every February. Okay, so anyway, what ends up happening is that I design this team, I sit back, and then I make some tough decisions, because the first thing that I have to say is, man, I cannot use these pieces, these pieces, these pieces. I love you, Captain Marvel, a lot, but I can't use that version because of my points. And if you don't know which that version of Captain Marvel is, go and she was in Sinister. Anyway, I think it's Monica LeBeau. But anyway, so I will say, like, I can't use you. But I'll keep you in mind, or I'll say like Danger Room Storm. Gosh, so much I wish I had you, but I have GSX Storm, and I have, which is awesome. It's one of the best storms. Is the one from Mutants and Monsters. Gosh, she's so good. Even now, I'm like, I still want to play you. You know, like range combat expert, just up there. Bam. Anyway, so you can tell from my conversation that I have a whole lot of investment in these characters. Okay, good, bad, or indifferent. Okay, but what I say is I love these characters. I want to put them all together, but I can't put that version with this version. So while I might start off with Avengers Black Panther, like last year I used the Captain America Black Panther, and I got different results. The unoutwittable outwit was nice, but for how much you pay, he needs to do more damage. If that makes sense. So I well rephrase that, more consistent damage. Yeah, that's better. Anyway, so I learned a lot about my personal themes and uh, tactics and options that I had just from building those theme teams. And so once everything sort of got into place, I looked at my team. I said, all right, can this work in modern age? And I'm like, okay, I can do this. And I'm like, can this work in golden age? And like, yeah, this works in golden age. So I just wait for a golden age tournament. So because I love those characters, I take steps back and I'm like, all right, what map do I want to play on? What if I need to use battlefield conditions? What battlefield conditions really hurt my team? Or if I really want to get thematic, what battlefield conditions are like prime for Black Panther that he normally sets up? So you could say darkness, Black Panther. That is Black Panther. I'm sorry. You know, come out the shadows, whoop fools. Black Panther is technically Captain America, Batman, and Iron Man rolled into one guy. If you don't believe me, see what the actual Black Panther suit does. Does some awesome stuff. Now, I would say Iron Man light. That's a better way of putting it. So anyway, going on. Make sure you have a plan. Make sure if you get multiple figures together that you really want to play with, make sure you know what versions that you need. The biggest thing that I want you to keep in your mind, and if I could go back and talk to that young man again, I would just tell him, keep your chin up, son. Morale is so important in Heroclix. And a lot of people don't understand how important morale is until they've been walloped. And I mean like walloped bad. And you can have horrible tournaments. And this is one of the big emphasis of when keeping it real goes wrong. When you come into that venue and you're like, this is part of my childhood or my young adulthood, and these figures help define me as a person, from my ethics to my morality to what I study to my spirituality to how I wear my clothes, you know, or even how I wear my hair. You know, I don't have hair anymore, so I couldn't tell you anymore about how it's affected my hair. So sad. But back to a serious nature. People have serious attachment to these characters. You can't underestimate that. And when their heroes are literally beaten and broken before them, not even by their classic villains, which they could accept, or even by a villain team or by a more, you know, well-known heroic team, but literally, you know, this is sad how I'm putting this, but you know, Scarlet Witch and Black Tom Cassidy, and sitting in the corner using barrier, and it went to a roll off, or even worse, 15 con artists, and in a Superman. It can cause people to be really frustrated. And so if you do not take some level of protecting your heart, and I really do mean that, if you don't protect your childhood and your fondness of those characters, it's really easy to either dump comics or dump HeroClix. And most people would dump HeroClix. And that's the one thing I was concerned about this young man is it's like, hey, you already don't have a lot of money. You're not winning. It's frustrating. And people are trying to help you, but you're not learning the lessons. It seems like it's time to quit. And I'm really hoping and praying that that doesn't happen. So pretty much we can see that we gotta be careful when we go out there with our favorite characters in HeroClix form, and we expect them to act like our comics or our dream comics. I could tell you at least 100 times I wish I wrote a comic book and I wish I was able to just design characters for my own personal means and then also make them like broken HeroClix combinations. Just powers that are just ridiculous. The dark shade. He goes through a portal. He lands next to all manner of people. He poisons and sucks the life out of everyone. Uh, so it's brokenness right there. But anyway, all right. We are at end of the command line here. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, hit me up at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. If you wish to opine. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, I do hit up Twitter now and then. I'll put out some. You can definitely know if the show is out on Twitter because I have YouTube attached to Twitter, so you can automatically just bam know what's up. So that's a good place to. Also, you can hit me up sometimes on questions. Sometimes I'm looking at Twitter. I'll get back at you. I'll get a little notification in my Gmail too. Also, you can check out the blog. 3 times a week, you're going to get content. The goal is to get it sometime during Monday, sometime during Wednesday, and sometime between Friday and Saturday. Question comes in if I can actually land it. I'm not going to lie. Best case scenario, check in Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. you're guaranteed to get content. So if you have any ideas for a show, definitely email me or put a little post on the blog. You leave comments on YouTube. I really don't like helping people on teams on YouTube, just for the pure fact of, and when people in the future look at my advice, they're not necessarily going to really take into account the meta at the time. And they're going to look at like, he said that figure was awesome. And I don't see how, this great mind or this guy could even think that. He's just proven with that comment that he's a noob and that we should stop listening to his podcast. And believe it or not, there are people like that. Okay, so also, you never know. The people that you're building against might get bored. Search HeroClix, hit up Glass Cabinet Films or Oreo FL, and then by some chance find me. And then you're in trouble. Just saying. Just saying. All right. Oh yeah, I'm at Twitter. I'm at StartOverPod. The blog is startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. And the email, once again, is startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. Also, big up to my Push to Region brethren. They have entertained me very well with their latest episode that's out. Definitely check out Push to Region. If anything, they are getting better tactically. Even I pick up a random little drop of knowledge from them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to take this liquid, turn it into a genetic monster, and unleash it on the world. Yeah. So, listen to them. Get diverse opinions. Don't just listen to me or one group of people, or go get some diverse opinions on some things. And so you can get a good scape of meta thought. I know I do. All right. That's pretty much it. Thank you for listening. And remember, we all got to start over sometime.